your beliefs. So I want to introduce Miss Constance Howard, who is an executive coach dedicated to empowering professional women to overcoming our limiting beliefs. Her career spans 40 years. So she's definitely experienced, and there's a lot for us to learn. And also, she is 3 times Emmy Award winning journalist. Miss Constance, please welcome to the stage, ma'am.
Hi, how are you? I've been,
I'm very well, thank you. I
yeah,
am so excited to hear, to learn from you. Such a vast many years of experience. So I'm really excited. And I'm going to exit the stage. Before I do, could you tell us where you are based?
I am in the Washington, D.C. area.
Fantastic. So we are nice. Right. I'm going to exit. The stage is yours, ma'am.
Okay, great. I'm so happy to be here. As as Evelyn said, I spent nearly 40 years in TV news. And today I want to talk to you about how you show up with unstoppable confidence inside and out. And to do that, I want to start by going back to 2020 when the pandemic first started. We were told that we would have to wear a mask. And I got to say, that shook me a little bit, as I'm sure it did you. The masks started out very basic. And then as time went on, they became more elaborate and more colorful. And then we ended up having a mask for every outfit. I think that was our way of getting control over a situation no one had control over. But truth be told, many of us started wearing a mask long before the pandemic. Not the physical one like you see on the screen, but those invisible masks that we wear to hide who we really are. We shield our fears and insecurities. So we looked all dressed up on the outside, but on the inside, here and here, there are a gazillion questions running, raging, like, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Can I do this job? Those questions and those doubts never go away. You see, they're part of a negative loop that goes on in our minds. Psychologists say that we have anywhere between 8 and 10,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are what you thought yesterday and the day before. But here's the number to think about. 90%, 90% of your thoughts are negative, and they're negative against yourself. That feeling that you aren't good enough or that you don't measure up got a label in the 1970s. Psychologists called it the imposter syndrome. You may have heard that. People have been talking about that quite a bit. It's an inability to accept your success and your achievements as something that you did based on your skill. Instead, you say it was because of luck. And you fear that people will find out that you're not as good as you say you are and label you a fraud or an imposter. And that's what many of you and I have in common with Michelle Obama. Smart, talented, beautiful, like you. But she has openly discussed how there were many times, and there still are times when she feels like she is not enough, that she doesn't deserve all the attention that she gets. The imposter syndrome is something that we share with author Maya Angelou, who wrote I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She wrote about it. Oprah has called her Mother Wisdom. Maya Angelou called herself a phenomenal woman, but she still had the imposter syndrome. She wrote, each time I write a book, every time I face that yellow pad, the challenge is so great. I've written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everyone, and they're going to find me out. And even Lizzo, yes, full-figured, leotard-wearing, loud as she wants to be, Lizzo has questioned whether she deserved to be on the stage at times. Have you had moments when you felt like you were in over your head? Like everyone else around you was smarter, more creative, more engaging? I have. I built a nearly 40-year career in TV news. I was among the first African Americans to run a TV news department in this country. My last job was as executive producer for the NBC station here in Washington, D.C. I oversaw the morning newscast. On many days, we were among the highest rated newscasts in the country. I've won 3 Emmys and countless other awards, but there were many days when I felt like I didn't belong, like I was one breaking news story away from it all crumbling down. You see, the imposter syndrome doesn't care who you are or what you do. The International Journal of Behavioral Science estimates that 70% of all of us will experience it in our careers. That number soars to 82% when you talk about women. It's a false negative message that we hold on to in our minds. For Black and Brown women, it's the propaganda repeatedly reinforced in various insidious ways that we're not good enough, not smart enough, that we only have the opportunity because of affirmative action. And I know you've heard this more than once, that we're too loud or too aggressive. That negative loop gets in our minds and robs us of enjoying and celebrating our accomplishments and knowing that we are more than enough. My goal today is to help you identify how the imposter syndrome manifests itself in your life and the horrible toll it's taking. And I want to give you some tools that will help you stop those negative thoughts and behaviors before they can ever take hold. Let's start with how the imposter syndrome shows up. It's pretty tricky. It's different from all of us, but there are some key ways that it shows up for many people. I'm going to throw out a couple of them, and you tell me in the chat if any of that resonates with you. First, are you a perfectionist? I know there are some of you out there. Do you obsess over the smallest of details? Are you a procrastinator? Do you put off starting an assignment because you're afraid you won't measure up? Do you work longer and harder than any of your teammates? Do you hesitate to ask for help? Those are just a few ways it will show up. I challenge you to think about how you behave when your confidence gets a little shaky. Now, let me tell you the toll it takes. It robs you of the opportunity to showcase your skills and your talents. Often for me, it would show up when I would be in a meeting. I would be fully prepared to participate, but I'd look around the room and I think, wow, he looks pretty smart and she looks pretty creative. And that negative loop would kick in and it would say, Constance, you're not that great. Maybe you ought to just be quiet. And I could feel my voice getting smaller and smaller, and I could feel myself shrinking. The imposter syndrome cost me, the thoughts that I wasn't good enough. I allowed fear to rule over me. I dimmed my light while others shined. I did not honor my brilliance. And no one did that to me but me. What opportunities did you not go for because you didn't think you were good enough? What projects and events did you pass over because you didn't think you deserved it? Did you neglect your family and friends because you were busy working crazy hours? If that sounds like you, well, let's now talk about how you go from the imposter syndrome to unstoppable confidence. I created this plan called the Disruptive Plan, and it has 3 parts: I am, fight back, and inner circle. Let's start with I am. And I know you might be thinking, really, this big plan starts with I am? Yes, it does. Because everything you attach I am to, you become. Psychologists say that I am affirmations tap into your subconscious mind. And it's your subconscious mind that dictates 95% of your behaviors and thoughts. And if you can tap into that, then you have a good chance of changing your thoughts and behaviors. Remember, anything you attach I am to, you become. I remember when I was transitioning from a journalist into coaching. My bathroom mirror was covered with I ams. It was like, I am an entrepreneur. I am confident. I can do this job. And I would read them and say them out loud, because in speaking them and reading them, that's where you get inspiration, not just for yourself, but for others around you. The second leg of this plan is the fight back. Fight back because you are literally fighting the negative thought in your mind. Now, I told you earlier that I spent decades as a journalist. I started as a reporter, then a producer who actually puts the shows together. And then I went further up the management team. Writing was the foundation of my very successful career. But in my mind, I thought, I'm not a good writer. So let me tell you how Fight Back works. On a piece of paper, you're going to create 3 columns. The first column, you're going to label negative thought. The second, evidence. And the third column, you're going to mark the truth. Now, using me, for example, I said that I was not a good writer. Okay. Second column, what's the evidence that supports that thought? How can I prove that I'm not a good writer? And in the third column, what is the truth? And when I thought about it, I couldn't come up with any solid evidence that proved I was a bad writer. In fact, in the third column, I listed the countless news stories that I wrote, the programs that I wrote, the awards that I had received for my writing. And I think you're going to find the same thing. What you'll find is that columns 2 and 3 they aren't in sync. You can't really find solid evidence to support that negative thought. It may have been something that happened to you 5, 10 years ago when you were a different person. It may have happened when you were at the beginning of your career. And now that you're more seasoned, it doesn't happen anymore. If you take a good hard look at this diagram, you'll see that column A, the first column, is a lie that's been holding on to you for a long time. Then, once you see that it's a lie, flip the narrative. So instead of, I'm not a good writer, it became, I'm an excellent writer.
Brilliant.
The third leg of this disruptive plan is your inner circle. And I might step on some toes here. Who are you hanging around? Researchers say that you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Let's think about them. Are they supportive? Do they hold you accountable to your dreams?
Yeah.
Are they aligned with your values, your goals, and your destiny? If they aren't, then maybe you ought to rethink your inner circle. I had a highly successful client who, through no fault of her own, was laid off at the beginning of the pandemic. She was gripped by the imposter syndrome. She was convinced no one would hire an older woman, someone in her 50s, and that she would be able to keep up with younger workers. On,
Yeah.
on a day when we were supposed to work on her resume, she was vacuuming her floor. She was convinced that that was the best use of her time, not working on her resume, but cleaning her floor.
Yeah.
As I told you, the imposter syndrome, one of the signs of the imposter syndrome is procrastination. It took me a while to get her to see that she was just procrastinating because she was afraid. We laugh about that now. Now she is director of community initiatives and marketing for a
Wow.
multi-dollar auto dealership in Ohio. She has a fulfilled life and she has unstoppable confidence. That's the value in having good people in your inner circle who can lift you up when you're having a valley moment.
Miss Constance, I'm going to say thank you so much. Um, I've written so much already about that. And also, I've learned I love this disruptive plan that you've got here. I have screenshot, I've written it, and I am definitely going to take it away and implement it for
Oh,
myself. Um, I do apologize because I'm looking at the time for us, and that has been so useful. So I'm going to say thank you so much, ma'am, and so that I can bring on our next speaker. But are you able to just say where people can
Yeah.
get you, how
Yes,
you link?
all of my information should be on the screen. Are you not seeing it? Can you
No,
see it?
you're back and not
Okay.
sharing.
Okay. All right. Well, it will be on our, I guess when they replay it.
Brilliant. And we'll definitely have it on our platform. So for those following us on Instagram and our newsletter as well. Thank
All
you
right.
so much,
Thank you.
ma'am. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.